I can see it. I've got the Twitch pulled up on my other screen.
All right, perfect. All right, there we go. Now we got people.
Perfect.
All right, so let's see if your prediction changes who you think is going to win.
It might.
It
It
might.
might.
And then here's the question. Do you now doubt your previous self, or do you stick with your previous self and think that you're never wrong?
I need to see what I'm saying
Ooh,
this
you
time.
switched.
Oh,
You're
I did
going with
switch.
Laser's team. You're going
Mm.
with Athiaf's team. Sorry, my mistake.
I think my first prediction was right. I'm gonna go with laser.
All right. Gonna go with Thaddeus Branson and Team Laser. So, I feel like they've missed like the first 10 minutes of our great conversation as a result, though. So,
That's well, we'll just have to catch him up.
we'll just have to catch them up. I'm really excited. Just for everyone who missed the announcement, both these teams, everyone who is here does not name body, is a human player, so you can always create and join. Um, and the other thing, and this is fun. So I've got two questions for you, Danny. One, are you gonna make a player in our league?
If I made a player in the league, I don't know that it would be fair because even if you turned all my attributes down, I would still dominate.
You're that confident.
I am that confident. Maybe it's hard coded in the game that anyone with my name will do exceptionally well.
We actually have theories about that. We actually believe that certain teams and certain players don't play well simply because of their name.
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
So was there any rundown on the beta? We have not done any real beta rundown beyond just the Heat being the preview team. That's going to change on a year-to-year basis. But beyond that, I don't think we covered anything.
No, and full disclosure, this is only the second version of the beta, so if we see bugs, I've already got my notepad out.
Excellent. I see a bug. There we go. That was just a delay. Never mind. So,
Gotcha.
so you know, Team Laser is in the gray with the orange helmet, and Team Thiath is in the blue.
All right, let's go orange helmets.
Oh wait, no. So I did do one thing that's different from our normal settings. I knocked up and this is always something that throws me. When we did it, is I knocked up the player celebrations up by a second, which as a result made it a little better. As Tackly McTacklerson is going to be credited with the penalty, and they're going to ignore it as Ulysses S. Grant. And I love that little overlay with the celebrations.
Well, that was a great suggestion.
Tater made that, and I love it. As
Yeah,
Tebow is going to get tackled for a loss, Lewis Smith gets him.
nice. You've got the speed turned up on this. Is
Yes,
that
we do.
correct?
Yes. We've been.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
what happened was when we first started, they were all straight 55 stacks with an occasional 65. And at normal speed, that is really dang slow.
Yeah, I can see that. I
So
can definitely see that.
we did tone it down a little bit, but I've always liked that. As Jimmy Johnson's going to get the pick, and there's a hold, so they're going to decline it. Jonathan Johnson, sorry.
Ooh, lucky. All right. Two big sacks already in the game.
Huge. Yeah, one of the things that. Ooh, that's a bobble if I've ever seen one.
That is yeah.
Yeah,
It flew off into space.
one of the reasons why we've been very big hounding you about the OL and DL interactions is basically because of how dominant these sacks are. As Thaddeus Branson is met by Greg Gase V.
I love these names. They're awesome.
Oh, we have some of the most fun names I think I've ever seen. One of the DL in this game is one of my favorite names is Montrevious Broxtello-Wella.
That was pretty good.
Right? The creativity of some of these players is just amazing. It hit deep bomb downfield as Tim Tebow,
You can always count on Tebow,
especially in the tight end position.
right? Maybe even this year. We might see him this year.
We might. Two of my friends have a running bet on that, as Espelone will run up the middle.
I'm anxious to see members of the community as they're watching this, if they haven't seen the beta yet, what their thoughts are just on some of the changes this
Well,
year.
this is the interaction with the beta.
Okay.
So, we haven't done anything else. This was why I was hyping this game up so much. It's a deep bomb downfield, and Bowdabone has
Ooh.
it.
Pretty sure there was a penalty on that play. They missed it.
There have been, so one of the weird things that I've always noticed is sort of the penalty calls. Is like if a player will run into another player and push them, it won't count a PI.
That is true. Something, um, definitely a lot of room for improvement when it comes to some of the penalty calls. There's a little bit of randomness that goes on.
Oh yeah. We actually turned off intentional grounding
Okay.
because we noticed that it would happen before the ball was thrown.
Yes.
And to us, we just had this. If you've ever seen the Key and Peele sketch about Hingle McCringleberry with the thrusts, it kind of just felt like that with the quarterback doing the intentional grounding. Just stare the ref down and just throw the ball.
Yes. Yes. That it is. I actually worked on it a little bit. Oh, 3rd and 1. They go deep.
You know what? I like it. It's a gutsy play.
It is. Well, at least now your coaches. Do you have individuals in charge of like the coaching of a
Yep.
team?
So every GM is in. We figure GMs can handle. There's a GM and a co-GM for every team. They're in charge of the playbook and maintaining the roster.
Gotcha. Well, they'll also be in charge of
The play calling. Yep.
the weights. Yeah, so that'll be something. Oh, he's got him in the middle of the field.
Tebow.
Tebow again. Gosh.
Tight ends are one thing we've noticed is tight ends have become really, really, really good in this game, in this version of the engine, and in 20. As Mac is sacked,
Oh,
Gino Presto gets him.
I can see why it was such a good suggestion to put in those overlays on the celebration. Always asking, who did that?
Yes. Now, and William Slayton, Dayton Mack is going to be shown for that great throw. What a throw it is. Slayton is actually one of our oldest players in the league. Has been with us since season 1. Hasn't retired. Is likely is absolutely a Hall of Fame now. Wide receiver. Yeah. As Miranda Wright gets that sack. Someone clips some of this and sends Ryan Moody. Absolutely does. As Tebow will get the touchdown. You know, I realize you should. I don't know if you can, but I feel like there was a hard-coded celebration there that was just missed based on the video.
Oh man, there's a lot of celebrations in the game. I am not liking the score though. I picked the wrong team. There's time. There's time.
There's plenty of time, and one of the things that I have done in my plays, I have liked how the second half team plays. The penalties, the kneels, oh, that's another thing I noticed in 20, and I'm not sure if you fixed the logic for this. And it's just that I kept saying, I need to tell Danny that, and I totally blipped on it. If you get a false start, the clock keeps running in the 2-minute window.
Gotcha. That should be fixed. I believe I fixed that after the first beta. And I completely rewrote all of the AI logic for 2-minute drill, end of game, both offensive and defensive, play calling, clock management, timeouts, all that sort of stuff. Oh, nice move right there on the outside.
Fast run.
So there should be some significant improvements in the quality of the game. See, that was a throw on the run,
And I love the animation for it.
and it wasn't as accurate, hence the pick.
Yeah, also Jack Gunner is pretty dang good as a DB. But yeah, no, the off-balance throw I loved right there.
We got a lot of, we obviously don't want to go too heavy on the animations, but when the situation warrants a particular type of animation,
That one's
Ooh,
a fun one.
that was.
So why don't players hurdle over down players is kind of the question. Is that just something that's not
I
on the
haven't added it.
plans? Okay.
No, it's something I plan to put in. It's just not in the game yet. But yeah, that would be a great situation for it.
They're going to decline the penalty.
Was it on the offense?
It was.
I think that's the right
That
call
is the right
there.
call.
Okay.
But I've generally, one of the things when we first started in 19 was they would always defer to yardage. And I believe Dave put in the part where it's, they would defer to yardage unless it's fourth down, and they will always defer to fourth down.
Yeah. He did a lot of work on it last year, fixed a lot of those bugs. He was actually the one that put in the entire penalty system, I think 3 years ago. So, yeah, definitely, he did a lot of good stuff with it. See, like that shouldn't happen. And
Instant
I don't.
sacks.
Well, the sacks off the play like that, it's almost like they're ghosting through
Yep.
the lineman, and I wonder if it's the speed at which you're playing. What do you have the speed setting to?
I'm so glad you asked. I have it
'Cause I
written
need
down somewhere, but game speed is 0.9.
0.9. Okay. I'll have to do some testing to see if that's caused by that. I wouldn't think it would, but I don't know.
Yeah. See, this is why I'm really glad we had you here,
Yeah, getting to see a lot of cool stuff.
right? As Runman again. He's been pretty good on the ground and in the air.
Yeah, he has. Although it's gonna be hard to beat Tebow. We're gonna need an answer for that. It almost looked like he was reaching to try to extend the ball as he got tackled.
He does. What I've generally noticed is the players where they slide, when they stop sliding, that's where the ball is placed, if it's forward. Similar to if they step out of bounds and keep running another like 5-10 yards, it'll move them up 5-10 yards.
Interesting. I'll have to keep an eye out for that.
And
Oh,
that's
good
going to be a
punt.
coffin.
Oh, wow. That was a great punt on the 1.5.
We actually have a question for you. What dictates off-balance throw abilities? Is it just accuracy or awareness and agility in play too?
So it is. Uh-oh.
It's a hole. It's coming back.
Ooh. Just
So
when
now
they're
we got a
starting to get some.
safety dance part 2.
So the throw and the one runs are, um, it is based a little bit triple coverage. What was he thinking? It is based a little bit on the attributes of the quarterback, but it's mostly based off of the position of the quarterback compared to the receiver, and how the quarterback is moving. Oh,
They're going to decline it and get the safety. Wreck-It Ralph is credited with it.
wow. That's what we needed. Coming back. That's a
Slowly but
big
surely.
momentum swifter.
My still favorite moment was we had a safety in one of our games. I don't remember who it was. Team was down by like 5 after that safety. And what they decided to do, because it was within like the last minute, they went for the onside kick. It was gutsy, but I love it.
Oh, that's awesome. See, this is give us an opportunity to check out the 2-minute drill and see what the team does here.
Yes.
See how the AI works. I know there are a few things that I need to change with the how they estimate how much time they need to score. So that shouldn't come into play here.
This Runman is going to be stopped by the Sanch.
Well,
We have a question. Was that a sidearm throw that the quarterback threw?
it was a more of a throw on the run, not a sidearm.
That one will roll into the end zone.
All right, so we'll see. They got a minute 5. Let's see if they can do anything with the ball. Wonder if they're going to come out and run one. No, they're going to throw one first down to the sideline. They're going to call timeout here. They're going to let it run. They're just going to let it run. You might be happy with that 14-2 lead. Oh,
Both
throwing it
teams do
again.
like to throw. One of the things that we've noticed in our league is that the run offense, because it's just the O-line and everything else, the run offense has kind of died, and basically a good pass catching running back is getting a lot stronger.
Interesting. I wonder how that would change if, now that you guys have access to play calling weights, if you bumped up the run, whether it's a matter of the offensive runners just not doing as well, or just run plays aren't getting called as much.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's going to be very interesting to see how the play calling works. Now, granted, we've been using the regular weights of like the 8 of whatever percentage it's at,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's going to be really interesting. We are keeping those weights, but we're kind of giving everyone a little more free reign with it. So you still have the 80-20 max pass and the 70-30 max run. So we are
Gotcha.
keeping that when we switch over to 21 with this. PCAST brings up a good point about the last play in the 2-minute drill. They had one timeout left, which makes sense for a late field goal attempt, but not at the expense of not getting another play in. Is there any reason why, within the logic, they wouldn't have gone for that timeout?
I'm writing this down. I think it's coded where he'll have to remind me what the down and distance was.
Definitely. I'll get you the game log.
I think according to the logic I wrote, I don't think they were far enough downfield to think um, about getting the field goal. That's what I think, but I'm not sure. I could be remembering what happened a little bit incorrectly.
Gotcha. Okay, so this is interesting. What's going on here?
The center's not there.
Huh. I mean, I've heard of a direct snap. This is a little ridiculous.
Where was the center?
Where was the center? And will the center show up?
He's there now.
Huh.
That was interesting.
That was very interesting.
It
Now
was
I
a
don't know.
water. It was a water break.
Ah, if someone
Oh,
could clip that. Oh, okay. I love that play. I want to talk about that play for a second because it bobbled off the wide receiver.
It did.
I love that.
Nice. I'm reading the comments. They weren't in field goal range, but that's fine.
Well, now they're in field goal range. They are in easy field goal range right here.
Gotcha. Oh, wow. Good move. Picks up the first down. I don't know why he's so happy. It was the receiver that made that play. But you know how quarterbacks are.
Let's run that.
He had a guy streaking across the field on the drag. I think he missed him. I think that would have been a better throw.
Is awareness the stat that dictates sort of what reads they make, or is it something else?
It's partly awareness, but it also depends on the play call. It's possible that the receiver he threw the ball to was the primary receiver, in which case he was probably looking at that receiver and maybe made the choice not to check down to the guy running a drag. And so there are some different attributes in play there where he just didn't notice him or thought the guy he threw the ball to was sufficiently open and just threw him the ball.
Gotcha.
14-5. We need a turnover here. Get back into this game. Down by 9.
As Tom Holland's going to get that one. So, interesting, because he's tight end too. But we've actually seen more tight end catches from both 1 and 2 than we have from most of the wide receivers.
Yeah, it's interesting. What playbook do they use?
So both of these teams are using a West Coast.
Okay. So how many players do you have in the league?
We have total created, or how many currently playing?
Currently playing.
Currently playing, we have around 100, 200, I want to say.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah. That includes both majors and development league. We actually have our draft class for this draft starting to shape up. We have, I think, 80 something people.
Wow.
So it's exciting. It's our third largest draft class.
He's got him.
Dayton Max Slayton, touchdown. I don't think your prediction for Team Laser is working out.
There's time. I've got faith. We need go down and score a touchdown, get a quick 3 and out, pull it back in. I'm feeling it.
That's fair. So here's something that someone said. Is that one bounces off the uprights. I love that. Someone said that the AI gives up if they're down by too much in the fourth quarter. And one of the things that we always loved was that the AI would play super aggressive if they're down, regardless of what the difference was. Now, granted, there's a point to super aggressive where it's absolutely bonkers, like not going for a field goal when down by 2. But is
Yeah. So is that comment based off of the beta?
No, it is. So Tater made that based on the beta, yes.
Okay. That is not something that I've seen. Definitely not saying it didn't happen, but nothing I've coded would make me think that they would give up. I assume he means like play calling.
Yeah, a little bit like play calling, as Brett Gase the fifth will get that insta sack.
Yeah, I would have to see specific examples, but I definitely didn't put anything in the game where they would kind of give up if they're down by a certain amount.
So there's one other insta sacks I want to bring up because I actually think this is an interesting question I have for you that I've just thought of, which is, so with the insta sacks, what I've noticed is that they generally happen as that one's going to be bobbled and dropped. I love that. Is that the instant sacks tend to only happen on designed running plays and actually lose no yards.
Interesting. Well, they shouldn't be happening at all.
Right.
And I'm kind of looking at it. It seems to happen more when they're in a 3 or 5 man front where they've got somebody lined up right over top of the center. But I've got a few fixes in mind to take a look at it. But like I said, I've never played the game this high speed, so that could definitely be a factor.
And it's a
Oh, he
fumble.
dropped the ball.
Brutus Maximus the seventh's going to get it.
That is
Blazers
not.
all of a sudden back in this.
Wow. See?
He needs a little bit of fourth quarter magic. Now.
Right there, right there. Turn it
Dixie
upfield.
Kong, touchdown.
Dixie Kong. That's great.
So why don't they go for the 2-point here?
Well, they shouldn't they? They had 11. It was 21-11.
So if they go for 2, let's say they make it, then it becomes an
Yeah.
8-point game. And now that instead of being 16 points down, they're now only 8 points down. But they're still now 2 scores.
My guess is
Oh, yeah.
I don't.
Jordan reminded me, force and chat, everyone. Sorry, what's your guess on that?
No, my guess would be because of the amount of time left. Although, even if they don't get it, they're still going to need. They can still get a field goal anyways. Yeah, that should be fixed.
See, Ulysses S. Grant is gonna.
We needed to stop there.
You needed to stop.
Second and 6. Play action. He is wide open. Tebow, somebody cover him.
Dave Max celebrating on Tebow doing most of the work.
He's just really pumped up for Tebow's return.
That's fair.
See, that's where we needed a strip sack.
Yes. And what's funny is a lot of our players have started putting into hit power, and it doesn't seem like it's changing that much. Every now and then it does, but not enough. And that's going to actually knock them out of field goal range.
That's huge. 3rd and 29. I expect a run here. Oh, they are going to pass the ball short and see. That's just bad coaching there. Now the clock stops. That's huge.
Right. Now, granted, part of that might just be the slider. They have it in specific situations. Run here is that's going to be a coffin.
See, that's going to be a tough. A 98-yard drive in front of us.
Yeah. And Dixie Kong has it.
Dixie Kong. He's definitely having a better second half.
Absolutely. TLK and our wide receivers catching a 55 for that game. I don't think
Yeah,
I
so
did.
that's funny. Yeah, so right there, and you'll notice it here, they're in a 3-man front. The nose tackle is gonna try to tackle the quarterback right off the start.
Yep.
So that seems to be the case. In a 3 or a 5-man front, it's creating those insta sack situations. I'm taking some notes here.
Oof.
Oh,
Dixie Kong.
Yeah, we'll get that fixed. That's no good.
As TLK will get it. Not to be confused with me. That is actually not my player. That is Gurin, who was talking about how we nerf all the wide receivers. Though he does have my face as his player's face check.
Oh, he didn't get out of bounds. And see, this is one of the things that I've already. They should be calling timeouts already, and it's on my list to fix. They'll start calling timeouts if this is. Oh, he threw an interception. Hey,
Mark
you
Kent.
gotta go deep.
You know what? I
Super.
can't hate that play.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. So I expect.
They'll kneel. Oh no, because they haven't burned their timeouts.
Yeah, so they got it. Well, they should be kneeling here anyways. All right, so Lasers are properly calling timeout here, and this
Yes.
looks like no, they're gonna run a play here.
So what I've noticed is the AI will run plays until the opposing team is out of timeouts.
Okay.
So they'll do one more play, a timeout, and then a kneel.
Oh, they're gonna kneel here.
I was wrong.
You know what I think it is? I think it's the calculation for, because I remember writing this code. They do it based off of what down it is, how many timeouts they have left, and how much time is left on the clock. So they'll only start kneeling when the game can be over by kneeling. I think that's the way it works because it's 3rd and 13, and the game will end here. And they didn't start taking knees until they know they could do this.
Yep. And as you can tell,
So
chat
that's gonna
is
be
going
it.
crazy about the kneels.
Oh, my prediction was off. See. So I'm gonna rely on this. This time, my guy was correct. Last time, he would have been correct. So I should have switched.
Should have switched.
I should have switched. I won't say that it's in the game where whatever I pick is true, but I also won't deny it.
Well, I've got you here for a couple more minutes. I figure, let's see if anyone in the chat has any questions for you. Because I figure we've got you. We might as well take advantage of it.
Yeah, I'm here.
While they're coming up with questions, there are two people that are listed as MVP. Dayton Mack, the quarterback, and Greg Gase, the fifth, the DL. Who do you got?
You know, I really got to go with Gase. The quarterback made some nice throws, but I feel like he relied a little too heavy on Tebow to take the credit for this win. And the free tackle for losses, those drive killers. I think Gase is the MVP here.
All right. So let's compare the quarterbacks. Thaddeus Branson had a night to forget. Dash running. Well, so how those were Tebow was tight end 1. What was the other one? Was tight end 2. Blanking on his name all of a sudden. Tom Holland.
He should be in the receiving stats.
Oh yeah, no, he will. I was blanking on the name all of a sudden.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Tebow went off. So why did? So let me ask you a question actually. So why did it give it to Mac rather than Tebow? I mean,
It's a simple formula.
okay,
Um, and my guess is the touchdowns. You know, Tebow's got one touchdown, and 5 catches for 124 yards and a touchdown is a super solid game. But I think the fact that the quarterback had 3 touchdowns, if I remember correctly, um, probably edged him over that.
gotcha. So yeah, so it looks like both the leaders in receptions were tied at once.
That's interesting. That's something that I haven't seen in my runs. Um,
Now I wonder if this is because of how our league is set up. Because almost all of these tight ends have 99 speed, as well as the wide receivers having 99 speed. I wonder if that's a factor.
hmm. It certainly could be. Do the defensive linemen have super high speed?
So, I'm really glad you brought that up. We actually put in a formula in our player list so that so one of our rules is any defensive player can move from anywhere to anywhere else on defense, and similar to offense with the exception of quarterback. Um, but we have formula so that if whoever's in the D line spots, that one is going to be at the 90 speed as
Okay.
opposed to 99. Everything else has a 99 cap because that's where the game ends, but speed we actually had to level to 90 because even though you saw the instant sacks here were disruptive, before that it was even worse.
So I wonder if that's related to it as well. So I can get into the technicals of what's happening. Basically, when a player thinks he's close enough to the player with the ball, they'll initiate a tackle. And what I think is happening is the players on the D line are coming out of their stance so fast that they are bypassing the block scenario with the offensive lineman and initiating a tackle on the quarterback. And we saw that whenever there was a nose tackle lined up right over the center. Um, and I think that's what's happening. And so my gut, without getting in there and testing it, is that the high player speeds are what's contributing to that. And it's something that should be relatively easy to fix on my end. And I am never going to use the excuse of saying, well, defensive linemen shouldn't have 90 speeds because the whole idea of our game is to give you the controls and say, well, if you want to have your defensive lineman as 90 speed, you do whatever you want. It's your league. We give you the controls. We want the game to be whatever you want it to be. And so, within reason, we're going to do everything we can to make that happen. And so I will get that on my list to fix because I know it's not fun to watch those happen.
Yep. And then we have a question for you from Gurren Mudo. He wants to know, does agility make a significant difference in wide receiver route running and separation ability?
Significant? No. It's a minor stat. Speed is going to have more of a factor in the separation, but agility does have a small factor on their cutting speed. So, yes and no. Speed is going to have a greater impact, but agility does have a little bit in terms of how fast they're coming out of their cuts.
Well, everyone knows that speed is the king stat. So that's the good news. I think everyone knows 99 speed is the first goal, as well as awareness, and then after that, it's kind of free roll.
Yes, and that is something that we um, aren't crazy about. The game is where it is right now, but we have no intentions of just kind of saying, "Oh, this is what it is." There's not a real power running game to speak of, and that's something that we really want to address in the near future. Runs up the middle, power, momentum, that sort of stuff. We want to get that in for the teams that want to build their players that way.
Gotcha. By the way, Greg of House Gase won as he was the punter for one team and the kicker for the other. Always one of my favorite ones. Any key offensive line attributes to attribute besides blocking? Some people believe speed, some believe awareness is the way. Any confirmation? Maybe agility,
Blocking's going to be your best.
right?
Um, and I will tell you this: if you go into the player editor for a team, and as you cycle through the positions, the attributes for those positions are listed left to right in order of importance.
That is good
Um,
to know. So I will
yeah.
actually write that out for the league so that they know.
And not to say that, for an offensive, let's just take a quarterback. If throw power is listed in front of throw accuracy, there's obviously some room for interpretation as far as how you want to build your player.
Oh yeah.
And so uh, take that kind of with a grain of salt. But the order is, generally speaking, they're listed in order of importance. If you've got a lot of running plays where you have pulling offensive linemen, you might want to go speed for those linemen. But the blocking attribute is what's going to hold the blocks longer.
It's good to know. I have to ask this as someone who plays as an offensive lineman in my own league. Will pick cakes ever be a stat?
So funny you mentioned that. I don't know if it'll be a stat. I think that would be awesome. Um, but we do have new blocking animations that we're planning to put into the game. I don't know exactly when they'll get in, whether or not it'll be before the initial release or not. But just like we saw, there were new throwing animations in the game. There's new animations in various places. We have new
Smart.
blocking animations that should go in the game, and some of them are pancake blocks, knocking people off their feet. And we have the counterpart to the defensive side, just overpowering the linemen and knocking them on their backs. But looking forward to getting those in. I don't know if we'll put them into stats, but that would be a lot of fun.
That would be fun. As a fellow alignment, all we have for our stats too. Ooh, actually, I've got a question on that one. One of the stats that I always want to see is for defense, actually. So I'm actually going to go back to defense. And one of the things, and Quest was looking for his stats earlier, so I'll have him in here. Um, he's on the other team, I think. So no, he's on this team. One of the things that one of the challenges that we've had as a league is trying to measure how good of a player a defensive back is. Because in theory, a good defensive back within these stats that are given doesn't really have any stats because they've been covering the person all day and haven't been targeted. You just have deflections and interceptions and tackles. Are we ever going to see the targeted defensive stat?
You absolutely could, yes. And it's one of those. Yes, is the short answer to that. But it's a little bit of a deceiving stat because if somebody's being thrown at a lot, that could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing. And so I think for that reason, we've kind of stayed away from putting that one into the game. And for those of you, this is the first time you're seeing the beta. There's a lot of new stats that are this year.
Yes.
The tackle for loss is new. All of the touchdowns have been separated. Like if you cycle back to rushing and receiving
I don't
and
think we saw
throwing.
any rushing touchdowns.
Okay, yeah. So right there, zero rushing touchdowns. Each touchdown type is its own, even for quarterbacks and defensive players. Defensive touchdown is its own stat category. And not receiving, return yards, return touchdowns average, those are in there as well as kicking. Um, so lots of new stats added this year. But yeah, we'll add new ones every year. I think the targeting one on defense is a really good one. Um, that makes a lot of sense.
Right? And I don't think I think you're right about targeting being in itself not a good stat. It doesn't indicate, but if you can say, okay, here's how many times they were targeted, here's how many times they deflected, how many times they intercepted based on their targeted, that tells you a lot more of a story.
Sure does. And not all stats are immediately obvious, and that's where some skill and strategy comes into play. If you just finished a game, or maybe you're looking at a 3-game stretch and the defender was thrown to 6 times, well, what does that mean? Then you go look at the wide receiver he was covering and see how many times he caught the ball, what happened in those plays. Maybe a wide or a D-back played the entire game and was only targeted once, and you look to see who he was covering, and he's covering the best receiver in the league. And even though he doesn't have any stats to show for it, that's a huge win, and that tells you a lot about that player. So it's not a stat that is immediately obvious, but there's a lot that can be gleaned from it.
Absolutely. Are there any other new stats, or is that all? I think that's all of them. Pal brings up that
So was he end up the MVP?
Jaden Mack was listed as the offensive MVP. Yeah. Oh, Dayton Mack was listed as the offensive MVP. Yeah, I've been pressing the wrong button for push to talk. My apologies.
All good. Yeah, he had a decent game. I mean, 20 for 27, 74%. The two interceptions weren't awesome, but he had 300 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Adam, you're asking about domes as in our field's domes? Yeah, we actually have a few, but because of our weather wheel that we usually have, I don't play in domes unless the weather says we can. Oh, actually, I have a good question about that. Does overcast and sunny have the exact same impact on the weather?
Yes.
Okay. I know like the wind obviously does depending on it, and snow and rain obviously do, but uh, I don't know if. Let me ask: are you bringing back weather to dome? So if the dome is closed, the snow is still happening.
No, that has
It
been
was one of my
fixed.
favorite things. It was wonky, but I loved it.
Well, if you look at Dallas, Dallas is one of those stadiums that you can't really tell if it's closed or not.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I guess you could go either way with that one. But no, there's a separate, each stadium has some check boxes as far as whether or not they're affected by outside wind and rain and snow and that sort of thing.
It's
So
good
yeah,
to
that's
know.
been fixed.
So no longer the indoor snow machines no longer exist.
Correct.
Yes, there are new stadiums. So Van, we actually played in Dallas's new stadium today.
Yeah, Dallas is new, Arizona is new, and it's not in the game yet, but it will be probably for the next beta. We have Detroit.
Nice. Okay, so I have a question actually about the stadiums, which is one of our always what we used to do. As I said, Arizona's new, and one of what we always used to do was actually have it in the old Arizona Superdome, because that was just kind of for our championship games. Because in the 2D crowds, you could really make pop and just sort of attune to sort of the crowd. So I guess I have two questions. One, are we going to see a 2D crowds theme return?
It's in the game still, yes. You can no longer mess with the crowd though.
Ah, okay. And then my second question is, are we going to see the crowd colors? Because right now they're all wearing, I think, one's wearing a pastel blue, one's wearing a green and white stripe. Are we
Mhm.
going to see them reflect the team colors?
Maybe sometime, but it's a technical limitation for us. Without getting too much into the how it works, because it's rather technical. It has to do with the fact that the fans in the stadium, you'll notice they're animated. Those animated, those animations are essentially pre-rendered and pre-cached.
Ah,
So,
interesting.
and they're shared. There's four different fan variations, and they're mixed in, so it looks like there's everybody moving. But those animations aren't running in real time. They're what's called GPU instanced, and so the textures, which are the clothes that you see on them, those are like pre-baked into the animation. And so we're just recycling the same thing over and over again. And because of that, we had to use the same textures on all of them. Now, in the future, we could pre-bake and cache all of them for all the different stadiums, um, changing the colors to be whatever the home team is, and just have a separate set for each stadium. But that adds overhead, and I'm not sure how that would affect performance. So, long story short, we may. I'm just not sure yet.
Okay, totally fair. And then I get Hal bring asked another question, which I think I know the answer to, but I want to make sure I know the answer to it. Home field advantage is not a factor currently, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then I know you mentioned a while back, and I don't know if I'm revealing too much, so if I am, stop me here. But I know you said that player weights and heights would actually produce different models. Is that still in the plans for 21?
Not in the plans for 21. And it originally was. We had new player models that were coming into the game for 21, but we ran into some development issues getting some of the um, we were going to be using blend shapes, which was a way to morph certain parts of the body based on certain attributes and sizes. We ran into some issues with getting it to work the way that we wanted to. Um, and so we didn't implement it for 21, but it is something that we are looking at in the future.
Gotcha.
What
So,
other questions? These are good.
right? I'm trying to think what else I got. I'm also reading them as they're coming in. So if anyone has any questions, definitely stop me. I will cite my own questions, which are a million and a half, because I have just 1 or 2 hours in this game. Not reading that question, Adam. Let's see. What else? How far? Okay, so I think I know the answer to this one as well, but Adam Van has a good question, which is how far can a team realize the kicker can make the kick? It's from 70, anything less than 70 yards, right?
I'm thinking. It. I believe 72 is the there's not a hard limit. There's a soft limit. It's based off of the kicker's attributes.
Yep.
So each team will decide differently. If they have a kicker with a kicking power of 10, they're not going to try a long field goal.
Most of our
Um,
kickers have 99, just to put it
okay,
into perspective.
gotcha. I believe it's 72 yards is the soft cap.
Interesting,
Um,
so it's actually expanded.
I think so. I could look at the code and tell you um, the super secret code. I don't have it pulled up right now. I think it's 72 yards.
Okay. I know the longest one we have on record is 69. Chuck Finn made it. I think it was like 2 days after that change went in too.
Okay.
Um, I remember when that change happened. It always brings a tear to my eye when it does. So
Nice.
how is it? He's got a good question. Right now, some teams have used the 90 and 90. Oh, here we go. So there is one team because we brought up kicking, and I want to bring him up. It's called the Mexico City Aztecs. Have a really good kicker by the name of Flapjacks yeah, Flapjacks. Flapjacks has purposely set his kick power to 91 as opposed to 99 compared to his peers. As a result, the kickoff will always go into the end zone.
Okay. And that causes the he'll kick it. I think did you hit your button again? Yeah, I think he lost his mic.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Excellent. So yeah, so basically, with the kick power being at 91, the player is often going to return the ball always from the end zone. Is the idea of the returner kneeling ever going to be a thing within uh 2021 or no?
Yes. So basically at a 91, he catches the ball deep in the end zone
Yep.
and then he'll run it out and
Yes.
obviously doesn't make it as far as he would if he took a knee. Yes, I plan to add that into the game. At the same time, we add fair catches for punts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that seems like a nice exploit. Good way to work the system.
Oh yeah, no, I think I can say with confidence our league has found a ton of weird exploits and weird quirky things about the engine.
Yes, absolutely. I will definitely give you guys credit for that.
trying to think. Oh, so actually, I have another question within this. Because it's actually within the concept of punts. We saw two great punts tonight that were both like coffins. But then we
Hmm.
saw a number of them where if they had angled it more to one side, it would have likely been a coffin. Instead, it went in the center and became a touchback. Are we going to see the punter logic? What is going to change the punter logic for where they punt the ball? Is it a stat or is it just sheer where
It,
they're located?
no, it is their kicking stat. If they're close enough to try for a coffin corner, they will. Um, but just like if you're watching an NFL game, you might see one a game, maybe.
Yeah,
And so they're tough. And so like when we saw a couple times the kickers, it looked like they weren't trying, but it's because they just missed.
gotcha.
And so that is what happened there. Um,
That's
sometimes they hit it and sometimes they don't.
that's awesome. I love it. Van wants to know what is better for Sim League games, Superstar difficulty or Hall of Fame difficulty, and what does the Axis League difficulty use?
I believe we run everything on Hall of Fame.
You do run on Hall of Fame, I do know that, and we did switch to Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So difficulty it's tough. We are trying to make simulation football, which simply means whatever you would see in the NFL, whatever you would see at the highest level of football is what we want to replicate in our game. And the disconnect there is that difficulty settings don't have a place in simulation football because if you want to turn down the difficulty, you are all of a sudden immediately not creating simulation football because you want to tell a player not to do something that he would or not to play in a way that he normally would or play to his full ability. That immediately is not simulation football. And so it's tough. And what I have kind of done is I've slowly removed areas of where difficulty has an impact on the game. And I've left it in some areas, but you basically, when you play at lower difficulty levels, you're basically affecting speed um, because that's the best way to do it. And I know it sounds like that's a cop out, but it really is the best way when you're trying to create simulation football. So if you set the defensive difficulty to rookie, um,
They're
what that
moving
means is
slow.
the defenders are going to move a little slower.
Gotcha. All right, so Pal has another question, which is I don't know how to explain this, but this is in Madden. I don't know if this happens in real life, and I know it does happen in real life. Which is, but can kickers punt in the middle and have it not roll into the end zone? Like it stops rolling at the one, for example, and puts the offense in the safety zone. We saw it nearly happen in this game, where it stopped rolling before reaching the end zone. Does that have to do with just the ball bounces, or is there a way with the backspin to be factored in for punting?
Yeah, so it is ball physics, and yeah, so like if you watch the NFL, the punters will drop the ball from their hands and have the ball tilt different angles depending on where they are on the field to put certain spins on the ball, whether they're driving forward to get a really long punt or they kind of tilt it down to get a higher punt with backspin. And so the just like the punters will try to coffin corner when they can, they will try to backspin when they can. But even with backspin on the ball, there's no guarantee that the ball is going to land the way you want it to. And so sometimes the short answer is yes, that can happen, but it often doesn't happen.
And then I guess Adam brings up Adam had a great comment, which is granted someone somewhere told them no one is ever going to care about punting logic, and here we are. We've had 4 questions about punts alone,
Well, and that's why I spent some time on it.
and yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, of
I,
course.
I cannot say how much I do appreciate how much you guys listen to us and everything now. Like it warms my heart. I will say.
Well, we are happy to do it, and it's a no-brainer. It's something that I always struggle to understand with game developers and studios out there that would seemingly intentionally do things different than what their fan base wanted. Um, and from the get-go, I my philosophy with making this game was to support the people that are buying it, support the people that are supporting you, and give them the game that they want to play, and they'll keep buying it. It's a very simple concept, and it's worked these first 7 years. So we'll keep plugging away.
Sounds good. Van has a question of how many celebrations are in the game total?
Over 100.
Over 100. Is there an excessive celebration penalty?
No, but that would be a good one. I do like that one. And give you guys a little bit of uh, thoughts about the future. We have plans to add player badges, similar to coach badges, and tendencies and personalities,
Ooh.
and so that would fit in pretty well. And I don't know how much you've seen in the beta games that you've played, but there are. Um, Reactions to the plays that are more than just celebrations. A kicker misses a field goal, a player gets a penalty called on him. There are frustration, disappointment reactions to plays that you'll see as well.
Yeah. And powering something up that's actually a really good question. So I don't know if you remember this, Danny. Way back when Axis 2020 was first being launched, uh, Toasty and I actually gathered a scatter plot of sort of where everyone was lined up on the depth chart and how many targets they got on average. And one of the things that we noticed, and this is sort of where I'm going to segue into Pow's question, which is that wide receiver twos have generally actually been the third most targeted of our wide receiver bunch. So to put it into numbers and something that we've seen, as you even saw today, it's tight end and wide receiver one tend to have the most. Sorry, tight end and wide receiver three tend to have the most, and then right thereafter is wide receiver one, then halfback, and then wide receiver two. Is that by the engine? Is it just because of how our defenses are structured? Or do you have no idea whatsoever? If you don't, that's totally fine.
No, I mean, that's a great question. So I think you guys see things a little bit different in terms of stats and outcomes
Yep.
because of how you have your attributes allocated in your players. Um, that is not something that I have seen. We have seen other people have mentioned, and so my guess is that it has to do with the attributes that you have. So what I would do to test that is I would take the same team and play it against a bunch of different teams that had defensive players that had widely different attributes and see if the numbers held up. My guess is that the high rated wide receiver is going against a high rated defensive back, and that usually results in a wash, and the tight end is getting matched up against a linebacker most of the time, and depending on how those attributes are allocated there, that's what's creating the mismatch. If you look at big picture, what the quarterback is going to do is he's going to find the mismatch and find the player that's most open. And those mismatches are going to be caused by a difference in attributes as those matchups happen. And so if teams are allocating those attributes mostly on their defensive backs and they're not putting speed in linebackers, but on the offensive side, they are putting speed into tight ends, that's where those separations are going to be created. And that would account for the targeting difference that you've noticed.
That's really insightful. Thank you. Um,
Very well.
so Adam Spencer brings up a good question. Ryan Heaves, the man who retired at the end of every game because he threw nearly three interceptions a game, um, and he just kept playing the season, but declared the season to be his last at the end of every game. Um, Ryan Heaves is the greatest running back, had our greatest running season of a quarterback of all time, averaging a total of 100 yards. No, sorry, accruing a total of 100 yards. I know a while back someone mentioned about running quarterbacks. Is that in the roadmap for 21 or is it further down the line?
That would come in when we put in tendencies with quarterbacks.
Gotcha.
but it is something that we have looked at. They will do a little bit of a better job now, um, but I would like to see, and in fact, that is one thing that's on my list. Most of the times when quarterbacks decide to run, they get tackled before they break the line of scrimmage. Um, and I don't know that that's very realistic. I think when quarterbacks decide to run, they break it every now and then, even if it's for a 5 or 10 yard gain. But it would also give us an opportunity to show off the quarterback slide that we have in the game now.
I am excited for that quarterback slide. I might have let that one slip and mention it to someone. I apologize. What can I
Totally
say?
fine.
I'm excited. Trying to think if I have any other questions. Um, oh, I have a weird one. And this has been something that was asked of me when we first started, and then I haven't really heard it since, but it just came to mind when we're talking about attributes and all that. Are we ever going to see left-handed quarterbacks?
Yes. Don't know when, but yes, that is something that we have plans to add. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Adam wants to know, is a hot dog a sandwich?
I'm thinking.
It's an important question.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. It's meat between two pieces of bread.
And now we are going down this rabbit hole that we have gone before, which is now we're asking if cereal is soup.
No, the difference is hot and cold. And before you tell me, but there are cold soups, I
Gazpacho.
will say, no, there's not.
So gazpacho is not a soup.
No, it's the salsa.
Ah, interesting. All right. I like how you have that defined. I love it.
Yes. And if anyone wants to disagree, they're wrong.
If anyone wants to disagree, you'll figure out their player name, hard code it in, so they are never good again.
That's right. In fact, I would love to see if anybody disagrees. Go ahead. I'm watching the chat.
Van wants
No
to know
one.
how you get 99 speed in real life.
Well, it involves eating. It's all diet based. So what I have found is you need to go on a strict hot dog and cereal diet. No soup, just hot dogs and cereal, and you will get um, 99 speed.
Quest says my player name is Brent Gates the Fifth, and I disagree with Danny.
Hang on, I'm writing some things down.
It's not actually his player name.
Oh man. All right, I'm gonna have to do some research.
Alright, I think I'm going to see if anyone else has any other questions. Otherwise, then I think that is it. Oh, Adam has one, he says. Oh, so I'm going to ask you while I have you on air. Oh, we have two new expansion teams, the Las Vegas Venom and the Barcelona Nightmares. What do you think about those two teams, knowing nothing else about them?
I think Las Vegas is gonna win the championship. I feel it. I like it. No, we've got a Las Vegas team in our league. We don't have any European teams, but I like it. Who picks the names?
So actually, the general managers did. So
Nice.
when they came in, some of them have changed their names and revised them, but overall, it's actually gone from general manager, and it's kept the name, barring an occasional circumstance. For example, we've had a team in Reykjavik since they've existed. They've changed from the Bears to the Frost Giants, but they've stayed in Reykjavik.
Nice.
Ooh, I have to ask this question because this is a very important question. I'll give you a bit of background on this. Uh, So Van asks, who is the best kicker in the league? And the reason why he asked this is when Dave first popped into our chat, he said it was the Wallabies were going to win, and we asked Dave because he was there, why are the Wallabies going to win? And his comment was they have the best kicker in the league. So it is a very important question since we have you here. Who is the best kicker in the league?
I would say, oh, I'm gonna go with you are the best kicker in the league. Even though you play offensive line, I think you've got a lot of talent that you need to put yourself as kicker.
All right.
I'm gonna
Okay.
stick with that.
I like it. I like it. I'll tell Meatwad that he is no longer the best kicker. It's now
That's
me.
right. I can't go with him. It's just I secretly he disagrees about the soup thing, and so
That's fair.
I can't go with him. What
Well,
else? What other questions do you guys have for me? You got me here.
yeah. I'm trying to see if we have any other. And yes, I know I'll pay out the predictions. Ooh, is kicking accuracy or power more important if you were building a kicker?
I think I would have to go with a balance between the two because both are important. Um, how much does awareness really affect things? I
Yes.
guess.
Yes, things. I can
Um,
read his typos.
there you go. Wonder. Um, awareness affects a lot. It's one of those stats that or attributes that's really important for a lot of players. And so, yes, it is important. It's important for quarterbacks. It will obviously affects their ability to recognize who's open. Um, the awareness stat affects how the runners see holes when they're running. It affects how receivers find holes in zones. Uh, defensive backs. It'll affect their ability to recognize when receivers come into their zones, anticipate their cuts and that sort of stuff. So it affects a lot of things.
Does it affect kicker or punter?
No,
Okay.
I don't
Uh,
think so.
all right. So there's another. So I'm going to give a little bit of context to this question about throw power that was just asked. When we first started, the quarterbacks would invest in throw power and would find that they'd be way off target most of the time. Now, part of that was low throw accuracy. Part of that was just honestly with how the routes are, and that is something that we did fix. So, one of the things that I noticed was that the red zone offense was a lot stronger in this game than it was in our 2020 games. Because what would happen is the quarterback would often overthrow. But the theory is that throw power is a bad stat to have. Is that still the case?
No, not a bad stat. It really depends. It affects how far down the field you can throw, and what it does affect that may not be initially obvious is it affects accuracy deeper down the field. If you've got a super accurate quarterback but low throwing power, they're only going to be accurate when they throw short. And so the best thing to do is really balance between those two stats because what that'll do is that'll allow them to use their accuracy farther down the field. Because if a weak quarterback who is accurate tries to throw downfield, they're going to lose their accuracy.
Gotcha. Van has a question. Have you thought about making a player? It's super casual here. I think you did answer that before we went live.
I did, and I'm pretty sure I said that even if I made a player, he would dominate, even if he had really low attributes, and I can't tell you why.
Uh, Next question is how much throw power should I put on my linebacker?
All of it.
All of it. All right, you've heard it here first, folks.
You
Uh,
never know when your quarterback's getting injured.
we actually have injuries off, so we have a good idea when our quarterback's getting injured. Never.
Gotcha. Well, that would solve that problem.
Yeah, we figured it's not a very good experience for you to create a player, have them ready to go, and 2 seconds into the first game, they tear their ACL and are out for the season.
Yeah, that would hurt things.
Yeah. Uh, so, next question is could we ever see addition of a position like the Denard Robinson offensive weapon position?
Is that like the slash position?
So if you remember when Denard Robertson got drafted by the Jaguars, he was listed as OW, offensive weapon, and then they made him switch to a position, but the idea was they could play him anywhere on offense.
Um, no, I don't think so. I mean, I won't rule out the idea, but we have a lot more pressing things, and there wouldn't, with the way our substitutions are set up, there wouldn't be anything stopping you from moving a player around like that, anyways.
Right. Next question we got is it's from Pow again. Okay, better question. Is too much throw power bad in the red zone?
No, it shouldn't affect it. Having high throw power won't mean that you're going to overthrow your targets, if that's the fear.
That's fair. Um, so Van has a question of how much do I have to pay you in order to buff anyone called Laszlo?
Um, DM me.
I like how you haven't ruled it out. Are linebackers and defensive line actually likely to pick up interceptions with the right attributes?
Pick up. It's like
Interceptions, yeah.
not talking about like a deflected. Hold on, let me reread that. Pick up. The pickup part is, Adam,
I
do you mean like off of a deflection, like catch it low, like the ball gets deflected and it's falling to the ground? See if he responds.
he left.
Oh, literally. Okay. Um, yes, they are likely. Um, yeah, a linebacker is just as likely to get an interception as a defensive back when they're thrown to. D linemen rarely are going to drop into coverage and be in a position to do that, but yeah, it's definitely possible.
All right. So one of the things Pow's has, and I think this is actually a really good question. Pow's had some amazing questions, and I love this. The run game is slightly dead in our league, so we mentioned that earlier. And I'm actually going to use this game as a great example. Luciano Espolone, who was our defending MVP, attempted 5 times and got 1 yard. On the other side of the field, dash runmen averaged less than 2. Both of these run games were shut down. Do you think the offensive defensive lineman interaction and the changes that you're planning to it are going to buff running backs or make them about the same?
So with these stats aren't normal. I would not look at these stats and be like, yeah, the game's in a good place. The changes that we're implementing with the line, I wouldn't think would have a huge impact on runners because with, and I'm going to say quote unquote, normal attributes, we're not seeing um,
That happen.
stuff that low. Yeah, and so it's tough to know sometimes what is caused by attributes and what's caused by the game not being where it needs to be. And so I would definitely agree that those kind of numbers are not good. Um, but I would also be interested to see what kind of effect fixing the instant sacks and tackles has, because most run plays, and there are shotgun run plays, but most run plays are going to happen with the quarterback under center. And I wonder how many run plays get blown up before they have a chance to develop because of that.
That's a good point.
So I don't know. It certainly needs some work, but I'm not sure what the direct cause is.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't think. I would not expect you to glean the direct cause in most things from one game sample size.
Cool, cool. What else?
Ah, any considerations to building in alternative rules like the CFL's unlimited pre-snap motions? Do we even have
Um,
any pre-snap motions?
Not yet.
Ah,
Not yet. I've got the groundwork for putting that in. So basically, before pre-snap motion or pre-snap movement can go into effect, you have to have players moving before the line or before the snap. And so we've got that. We've got players kind of coming out of the huddle and that sort of thing. And
Yep.
the next step is to do pre-snap motion. You really need that for a good simulation football because it has a lot of strategy. It has a lot of stuff to it. And so, yeah, definitely plan to add that very soon. I don't know if it'll make it in for 21. I can almost guarantee it'll be in for 22.
All right. Trying to think if I've got any other questions. Quest is happy about the pre-snap motions. It's got the little hype emoji. I love it.
Nice.
Trying to think if I've got any other weird ones. Oh, I have a weird one on the create feature actually. I know I put this in my notes, and it's something that I actually really loved in 20. And I'm just wondering if there's any chance of this thing making a return. So in 20, what I would do is I'd be working on a uniform or something for a team, changing something up, tweaking it, and sort of making adjustments as I go. So I'd obviously save the new file, and then I'd hit the refresh button, and it would refresh with the new file that I've saved. Is that something that you're planning to add back in?
So walk through that one more time for me.
Yeah. So what would happen is in 20. So I have let's say I'm redesigning the Flamingos jersey. So I've got a Flamingos jersey open. I'm changing one of the patterns on the shoulders. So then I'm going to sit. I've got Axis open as well. I want to make sure that everything's aligned. Or I'm putting a patch on the players to indicate 10 seasons. So Flamingos have been around for 10 seasons. They're going to get a little 10 patch on their uniforms. And I want to make sure it aligns correctly. So if I hit save on Photoshop and then I save it as a PNG, it's in the right folder and all that, and then I hit refresh, the new changes that I make will carry over. That button doesn't seem to be appearing in the create anymore. So in order for me to now look at it, I have to go back out of the team and then back into the team.
Gotcha. Hit R on your keyboard and see if that does it.
Okay, I'll try that. I'll let you know.
Yeah, that might do it.
Got to work on the Night Nose jerseys, so that's okay.
Gotcha. If it doesn't, just let me know and I can add the button back in.
Okay. Yeah, because that was just, it was a nice to have, but it was such a time saver.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can imagine.
Right, does anyone else have any questions? Otherwise, I feel like we've kept you for a long time. Well beyond what I promised.
It's okay. Happy to answer the questions.
Hal's got nothing anymore. All right, if you had to pick one of our 14 teams to root for, who would you root for?
I'm going with the New Vegas team.
All right, got a Venom fan already.
Yes, going with it.
So now I have a question, because we always like to joke. So we like to joke this game has a lot of personality to it, even if the engine doesn't always believe it. So some of the things that we've seen, and this is actually, it's actually a good question. So Dave, when it was the Ask the Experts, whenever the Wallabies would play, would almost always pick the Wallabies, regardless of what the percentage was. The Vipers and the Aliens, no matter how good either one of those teams were, they would always play each other like it was the most important game of their lives. Is that something that's just randomly that we're assigning a narrative to that shouldn't be there, or is that actually something that's in there?
Do you want the truth?
I kind of do.
You're just assigning a narrative to it.
I know. I wanted to believe that. But it's really weird. Like, I'm not even joking. It's so weird because it just happens every single time.
Yeah, that's funny how that happens. But no, nothing in the game that is doing anything other than running simulations.
Gotcha. But now that you're a Venom fan, are you going to hard code it in so you're always picking the Venom?
I can't say.
All right.
I pick the winner is what I do.
That's fair. All right. I'm gonna. One of the things that we wanted to do when we first started was sort of track the experts, see how accurate each of them was. I might do that this upcoming season.
You should. That would be interesting. You should really do that.
All right, I will. I'll let you know.
Awesome.
Do you have like a pool between the four of you to see who will win?
We don't. We do not.
Set one up.
But I would win.
All right. That confidence. Pow says
Yes.
he's got a question, so I guess we'll do this question and then we'll call it.
Sounds good.
What do experts base their predictions on?
Who they think is gonna win?
Well, right, but so like it'll
I'm just
say,
messing with.
yeah. Because I know it'll say a percentage at the bottom,
Right.
which we all know. We've learned that the predictions don't take in the pass run slider.
So what they do, they have a little bit of bias, but they mostly simulate a game themselves and what they think is going to happen, and then make the prediction based off of that.
Gotcha. So it's not quite just pulling one of those 1,000 simulations out of the bucket. It's their own simulation as well.
That's correct,
So it's 1,004.
technically.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's really neat. Well, Danny, thank you very much for joining me. This was absolutely wonderful. We should definitely do it again.
Yes.
Um, and thank you so much for telling me exactly why Team Laser should have won the first one, but didn't win the second one.
Well, you're very welcome, and I appreciate you having me on here. It's been good to chat with you. I saw some cool stuff that I needed to fix, and I always appreciate seeing how different people take the game and make it their own. So thanks again for having me on.
And we will see everyone else in the chat probably on in 10 days when we have the draft. So that'll do it. And yes, I'm gonna pay out the prediction van. You can do it after you sign off the Twitch. So thank you all, and have a good night.